Vajiraman Ravi has been still there even during my mains preparation, during both my attempts 2023-24. I started my preparation in 2018 here as a foundation batch student, and finally I'm again back here 6 years later. The life has come full circle finally. I post-graduated actually in year 2018. After that I came to Vajiraman Ravi, as the name has always been there, where I was completely clueless कि क्या करना है क्या नहीं. And that year I think, but I think ये join किया test series मैंने, and we had those regular feedback sessions.
GS
we had GS. I was enrolled for the GS thing. I had that regular feedback session after every copy that was checked. We had those mentoring sessions going on. So उससे पता चलता था what is wrong, where I should add on, what is the changes I need to make, etc. So it went like that, and I really scored good in GS. Last year also it was 435 marks in GS 1, 2, 3, 4.
I am an engineer by my education background, but this was a shock to me because despite my background in engineering, I could not clear the CSAT cutoff. So then I introspected a lot about where I was going wrong, and did I take something so easily that I missed it very badly. So then I luckily had a CAT book that was by Arun Sharma sir, and I don't recommend that everybody should do it because it was more than what this exam needs. But then I had this book, so then after analyzing the PYQs, first solving the PYQs, to test my difficulty level, I also practiced the CAT questions, and I solved the number system, progressions and arithmetic, this probability and permutation and combination questions from that CAT book. But I sincerely recommend all of the candidates, irrespective of the educational background, to be please sure about CSAT preparation, because CSAT is becoming an eliminator more of than an qualifier going on from year to year. For that, first you need to be well aware of the type of questions UPSC is asking, especially with respect to reading comprehension, because reading comprehension will give you that edge when the math is miserably going in the paper. So then you have to prepare from 2013 to 2024. You have to practice all of the PYQs in reading comprehension. I personally did more than 10 times of all of these questions. So make sure you do all of this. And also for CSAT, math portion, you have a lot of videos on YouTube which are free. So you can just refer to any of such videos and see whether they are covering the PYQs in this segregated topic wise or not. So just find such good channel and just go ahead with the preparation, and make sure that you dedicate at least 5 months for prelims preparation, because prelims is that level that will give you a pass to mains and interview as well, because in mains we have that luxury of writing our opinions, so that exam is subjective. It's not the black and white, it's somewhere around the gray. But prelims is just black and white. Either you are in the list or you are out of the list, just even by 0.5 marks also. So be very sure about your prelims preparation. Do not neglect it like most people give it 2 to 3 months. With all due respect, everybody's capability is so different. So depending upon your capability, start ahead, start as soon as possible. Be thorough with your CSAT preparation as well. Coming to the mains preparation, we also have this segregated papers like the essay, GS 1, 2, 3 and 4. So first I want to talk about the essay paper. The main mistake that we aspirants commit is that we fail to interpret the essence of the essay being asked. And this year, though I have written good essays, but I just got 95 marks in my essay. So I don't know whether I can give this sort of advice or not, but I practiced almost around 10 to 12 essays before my during my mains preparation, and I failed miserably while interpreting the kind of essays that were asked. And most probably you should have a data or fact sheet or the stories, anecdotes, but do not overload your essay with lot of examples and anecdotes. Your essay should be organic. It should come out of your pen, out of your heart. Do not mess it with lot of examples and lot of dimensions. Give it a clear organic passage so that your thoughts are expressed in a clear, concise manner, and yet it is overall looking decent with a constant flow and synchrony. For that, you have to refer topper copies which were free of cost published online. So I referred a lot of topper copies for essays, and I have noted down important anecdotes or stories from their copies, and I tried to emulate the same in my answers. And also, do not make yourself stick to one kind of procedure while writing the essay. As much as possible, better be with your own style and also give it an organic look so that nothing seems so mechanical. And this is something that I recommend for essay. Coming to GS1, as we know, a lot of static subjects were there in GS1. While you're preparing for prelims itself, you might be thorough with your geography, history content. So you just now have to know how to present the same in an answer format. The better you prepare for prelims for these subjects, the better you will write the mains answers in GS1. For history, I did not have any separate notes for mains. I just revised my prelims notes a lot, and then I tried to give some value addition with respect to the introduction and conclusion. So the diagrams that we have in art and culture, and also the important chronology or the names of the kings, and also some important cultural artifacts or something like the art and culture, literature, dance, all of these components of culture, please make a list. So I'm sure each of us must be studying hard for prelims, and that information we can use it aesthetically in our answers as well. Coming to society, we have few topics, very important topics like the caste system, the globalization, women, feminization, all of this. So you have to have a template for these certain topics. I prepared a value addition sheet for women, topic women. So in that sheet, I have included all of the information like what's the sex ratio, what's the literacy of women, what are the government schemes, and what is the female labor force participation rate. All of this value addition about women, I made 2-pager notes, and this value addition page can be used in any of the GS papers because women related questions will be in any of these questions, in polity, in also GS3 economy, and GS4 ethics as well. So make sure you find such topics upon which you can integrate in each of these papers. And when it comes to GS2, it's very dynamic in nature because we have polity, IR, governance, and for these topics I followed the current events more. So the current event compilation, anything that you will take, please make sure that you are hitting the right topics. Do not run behind the each and every issue that is covered in the newspaper. Be very specific, like you can compare it with the syllabus keywords that you have. Regarding that keyword, if something is going on in news, make sure that you have at least a half a page notes on that. Just note down important pointers, what are the positive sides of it, what are the negative sides of it, and probably what's a balanced opinion on that issue. So in this manner, you can just prepare the notes which is concise, clear, and which is also handy for you while revising. And when it comes to GS3, you know, this paper is so technical that even toppers cannot score a lot of good marks in this paper. Even I scored below 90, and for this GS3, you need not put more efforts than the other papers. You just have to give it a equal time. But we have the economy, for that the budget and the economy survey becomes more important. And other than that, we have topics like inclusive growth and topics like industrialization. For all of these topics, you have a basic idea which you have been studying through newspapers, and also a lot of prelims prep also helps in this. For these topics, make sure that you just have a framework. What is inclusive growth? What comes in it? You have the inequalities, you have the poverty, multidimensional poverty, socio-economic indicators, all of this. Please be sure of the framework of these topics, and then try to add some of the value addition for each of this. And when it comes to disaster management, you can just refer the NDMA website, and you can just take a printout of what are the guidelines for each of the disasters. And for internal security, we have the Ministry of Home Affairs website, from where you can gather data regarding how much of the incidents of, for example, left-wing extremism happened before, and what's the target. Like the Honorable Home Minister has also set a deadline to end the left-wing extremism by 2026. So these important details, if you can quote straight away in your answers, that will give your answers a lot of edge. And these resources are completely free online, and you can just browse and take only whatever is important. Do not run behind the entire documents published in the government website. Just search the keyword and you will get the page where this is there. And when it comes to ethics, ethics is a challenging paper because it's very lengthy when compared to other papers. For case studies, I specifically advise students to go through previous year questions, and we have a lot of templates because see, there is some case study wherein a civil servant is under ethical dilemma. It comes the conflict of interest. These terms in the syllabus. So you prepare a list of such situations and such topics, and you also refer to any of the institute's material, like what is the answer given for that kind of a situation, and you try to prepare framework. I personally made 3 to 4 pager notes on these case studies. So these notes were specifically to the point. For example, what should be my answer in case a conflict of interest question is asked? What should be my answer when the quality like emotional intelligence should be used in the answer? So for each of these case studies, you just prepare a framework. What are the dilemmas there? What are the qualities that I have to display as a civil servant? And what should be a balanced conclusion for it? In this manner, you can prepare a framework for each of these situations, and your case studies will be covered. And when it comes to the theory part of the ethics paper, it's challenging because we'll have around 12 to 13 questions to write, and there are code based questions, and there are questions about qualities like what are the qualities of civil servants, emotional intelligence, and all of this. For each of these, try to add unique examples. There are many examples in the market, the data, facts, everything, but try to add your own version of it. For example, my teacher did something in my school days and that has impacted me, that has given me a quality of integrity or honesty. You can add something like that, something from very basic examples. So this will give some integrity to your answers as well, that you are not writing like any other person, but you are actually having your own examples and you are reflecting your ethics on each day basis. So do this for ethics and you will be sorted out. And if I can tell overall, as soon as we write the notes for mains, one important problem that we all face is that we always feel incomplete while mains preparation. And please realize that it is very normal. Even I felt the same. The 2.5 month period between the mains preparation phase is so overwhelming that despite putting 15 hours, 14 hours a day, we fail to reach the targets. We fail to reach our targets on time, and that completeness feeling is never coming. So you don't get disheartened by that feeling. It's very normal, absolutely normal, and just keep working, enriching your notes. First, your notes looks very cringy and very incomplete in that sense. But as soon as the time progresses, you will know you have made some notes, and if you can just replicate 50% from your notes to the papers, then realize that your job is done. Nobody remembers all of that stuff, and nobody presents the same on the D-Day within that time limit. And as soon as the exam approaches, just 15 days before exam or 10 days before exam, make sure that you prepare a keyword list about each of the subject in the mains. For example, if we have ethics, I made a keyword list like what are the qualities that we have in civil servants, and what are all the important side headings that we should write in ethics answers. So those side headings also I made a list. To each of the subjects in the mains, do the same. And as and when there is a less paucity of time, you can just revise those keywords, those examples, and automatically you will be able to present it in the exams. So after doing a lot of this, you will be in a position where you can do all of this in the exams as well. This is a specific question that what not to do for mains, because we tend to do a lot during this mains, and most people, they write notes a lot, like they write in pure paragraph format, and they write in a manner that we make a notes from foundation course, but that is not the right approach, because we do not have that luxury of time in the mains preparation. We just need to write the side headings, the examples or data facts, and different dimensions that we can use in that exam. This should be the approach, and you should not go end to end of any booklet, or you should not write paragraph format notes that will become a lot and you will not be able to revise it in the end. So make sure that you prepare notes in a manner that you can understand well. In a pointer format, it's much better. Specifically for mains answer writing, I have initially started at Write Smart course from Sarthi IAS. This was during my failure at first prelims. I enrolled in Write Smart course and I got a template about how to write answers, and then I followed some free initiatives on online institute websites, and there were 2 or 3 questions given, and they also provide the model answer. So these questions are from the newspaper of that particular day. I used to write on my own, evaluate on my own based on the model answer that they have given. Upon comparing these both, then I realized that I was going in certain direction, but I need some value addition, some structure to my answer. So I followed it at length. Also after my first prelims failure, for 1.5-2 months I did not study anything at all. I just reflected back on where I was going wrong, and after that I straight away started with the mains preparation, because you cannot study all the year for prelims again. You know prelims and you have experienced how it works. So then I have dedicated my most of the time to mains prep after my prelims failure. After that, as in when December approached, I started for prelims. During this mains preparation only, I took some of the courses from the institutes, like from Understand UPSC, which was a Telegram group then, and I got enrolled into the Conquer program, wherein mains guidance was given, and also a lot of a peer group was there, whom we can rely upon. Basically, they will evaluate our answers, and we can do there. So it's something like give and take kind of a relation, and you can form any peer group of that sort, and you can get your answer copies evaluated. In that way, you will also learn different styles of answer writing, and you also have different set of case studies or value addition from others' notes. And there are a lot of initiatives online which are free, and there are a lot of topper copies on which we can make a reference, and building upon that we can realize our own answer writing style, and we can have good examples and value addition from topper copies as well. As I said, for prelims we should rely mostly on static, and a lot of it applies to mains as well. Current affairs is very important for GS 2 and 3, and it also acts as a value addition in all of the 4 papers and essay as well. But make sure that first you are very sure about your content. Your static content should be strong, and building on that, for current affairs you can just have a look at your syllabus topics, and whatever topics are there, you actually check it in the news events, whether there is some topic that is actually having some relevance with the news event. For example, there is a new bill coming up, and there have been activists who are alleging that this fundamental right is being obstructed through this particular bill. So then you have to be thorough about the fundamental rights, and you have to cover this news piece, and you have to go into the details of the bill. Why this bill is so controversial, what are being at stake. Then you have to take out the negatives and positives of this particular bill, and then you have to come up with a balanced conclusion. In this way, we can cover news events which are very relevant and very to the core to the syllabus topics. Do not go beyond the syllabus, always stick to the syllabus and identify the issues that are actually important for your mains exam. Always keep in mind that there are a lot of institutes, and there is a lot of noise going on around the mains preparation and the entire preparation cycle of UPSC. Do not take any institute or course as a reference. Always be sure about what are the deliverables that they are presenting in the course. Is it affordable or not? Is it qualitative or not? And also remember that mains answer evaluation is not something that you can only rely on coaching institutes, because you can do it with your friends, your peer group, and somebody who acts as your guide or mentor as well. Do not rely on institutes only for the sake of answer evaluation. If you just want to know about the answer writing style, you can join something that is qualitative and affordable, and you can also rely on topper copies for the same. And before joining any of the answer writing test series, please be sure about the deliverables that they are giving. Mostly they'll award the same kind of marks to each and every topper copy. If you see, if you see the previous toppers also, they will also be telling you the same, because their kind of awarding the marks is similar no matter how much you write, how much better answers that you write. So do not take it as a reference. always rely on your own ability and your own answer writing framework, because you can for example, if I can give my own context, whenever I used to write some answer or some PYQ, I used to refer to the model answer. Like there are a lot of test series online which are very free, like there will not be any evaluator, but you will get the question and answer PDF. So as soon as I write the questions in online mode, like at my home, I did not enroll in any of the physical centers. So as soon as I write the mains answer in that stipulated 3-hour period, after that, after taking a break, I used to check it with my own notes, like whether there are any important points that I really missed, that should act as a value addition in this particular question. So I always checked it with my own notes. How much of the notes could I be able to emulate in my answer, and what is that is seriously lacking in my answer. This is my benchmark to compare my answer with my notes. So this should be your approach as well. When it comes to optional, my optional is anthropology, and I'm sure that you are also aware of many of the topper copies, many of the topper strategies online. I also followed the same, and I will be making a detailed strategy video about the optional very soon. The main important disclaimer for this mains preparation is that do not have this FOMO in your mind, that fear of missing out if I do not enroll in this particular current affair course, in this particular answer writing course or something. There is nothing sure shot about any of the course that you have in the market. It's all depending upon the sheer will and hard work that is actually demanded by you. That is only the key ingredient here, and if ever you fail to enroll in any of the course, do not have the fear of missing out feeling in your mind, because it is always you who can make yourself better. Even in my case, I did not enroll any of the test series for optional. You can just rely upon your own notes. You can have the PYQs before you and just write it in time frame manner, like a time limit within the 3-hour period, no matter where you are writing the exam. And always compare it with your own notes. What else could have made the answer more better? So that should be your reference upon like evaluating or the criteria for comparing your answer. As I said, during my first attempt, I could not clear prelims, and I was in a lot of confusion because I was referring a lot of resources and material online, and there was no clarity in my approach. And this is something that I want students to realize. No matter how much big this exam looks, you can always be focused on what is actually being demanded by you in the exam. For example, at the prelim stage, the exam requires you to have a static understanding on the foundation subjects. So when that foundation is clear, you can easily attempt the questions. And the CSAT, as we say, the math and reading comprehension, you should be thorough with the PYQs, and then you are able to score well. And in this year, I scored more than 96 marks in the CSAT. Previous year, I just failed to clear the cutoff of 66 only. So that is the improvement we can get only through PYQ analysis and thorough practice. And when it comes to mains, we have different papers and all. The answer writing becomes important, and the time limit in which we have to complete each and every answer. And one important thing that I missed out is that the questions in mains, as we know, we have 20 questions in each of these papers, and no matter how much of toughness the question carries, you always have to attempt the 20 questions. And no matter how well or how worst you have written a particular question, you just have to move on and write the next question. That is how the mains works. And I have scored 826 marks in my mains, and this is my first mains. And when I talk about the interview, I have got 201 marks in the interview, which is one of the best scores in the interview. So I want to give just 2 or 3 suggestions for the interview preparation, because we have many of the mocks online, mock interviews. I just came to Delhi to give some of the mock interviews. I just had around 8 days in Delhi, so I gave back-to-back mocks, which is not the ideal approach, because once we have given particular mock interview, we need to analyze our performance and then we need to improvise on that. Due to my time complexities, I did not have that kind of like advantage. So I had given back-to-back mocks, and there was no time for me to self-reflect and improvise upon it. But if you have that luxury of time, make sure that you have at least 1 week before between the mocks, so that you can watch your recorded video, analyze your mistake areas, and be thorough in the next mock. And apart from the mocks, I just wanted to share one important thing, that we all tend to approach towards interview in a question answer format, which is absolutely wrong. Because like we have come this far, after qualifying mains only we'll get the interview call. If the board wants to know something about you, they could have simply given you out a form and they could have simply understood from what you have written. But this is not that. They do not want any answer from you. They just want to know your personality. How are you personally, and how good are you to communicate with seniors? How much of the bureaucratic material is within you? For this interview, you have to approach it like a conversational manner. You have to converse with your seniors. So in each and every word that you speak, you should be very sure about what kind of personality that it is reflecting from your answers. What is that you're projecting it through your answers. So always remember that interview is very crucial. It's not about the marks. It's about how much of bureaucratic material is within you and how well will you fit in that bureaucracy. Hence, approach it in a conversational aspect and conversational manner. Be very calm and relaxed, and always remember one thing, that your confidence carries more marks than your content. Here, confidence works like wonders. And initially, my mocks were very disappointing because I was approaching it in a question answer manner. And later, I got to know from there is an academy called JICE IAS Academy. They have contacted me through WhatsApp after mains preparation. So I asked them whether I could have an online session with them, because after my mock interviews, I went back to my hometown and there was almost a month gap. And many of my friends and peers recommended that I should be having at least one more mock so that I get habituated to the actual day. But then I didn't have the luxury to travel to Delhi all over again. Then I asked them to have a session for me, probably a mock online mode. Then they gave me a session with Vivek sir, who is a serving officer in Karnataka. And sir took me a session almost about 50 minutes, and in that 50-minute video, sir has told me how to make it more conversational and not to look like a question answer session. Then he told me that I'll give just one simple example. Like there is a question like tell me about your own city. Then I was telling all of the details about my city, Warangal. Then he stopped me and he told me that, do you think this answer is good? Then I said no, it actually looks like a textbook answer. Then sir told me that, imagine you are an officer already, and if President of India is coming to your city for an official visit, and the president will ask you, like, tell me about your own city. So Vivek sir asked me the question about, tell me what's so special about your city, Warangal. Then I started spitting out all of the facts, and later he stopped me and he asked me, imagine a situation wherein you are a serving officer, you are a district magistrate of your city, and the President of India is on an official visit to your district. Then the president casually asks you, like, what's so special about this city? I want to know about this city. Then what will be your approach? Will it be the same like spitting out facts, or will it be more conversational? So then I realized that it is actually conversational. And then sir told me that, sir, this particular city is so rich in culture and we have this lot of history here, and all of this, like how well you articulate it to a person of that stature. That should be the approach in your interview as well. So taking this aspect forward, the same question was asked to me in the actual interview, and I was able to emulate the same kind of response there. And this is one simple learning so effective in my outlook towards the personality test. So I recommend you all students to approach it in a conversational manner, be very polite and humble, and carry confidence no matter how much kind of pressure they impound on you. My board in the interview was Sheel Vardhan Singh sir board, and the board was very cordial. And one thing that I understood is that the interview board is actually trying to know about you from your own words. They already have your detailed application form, They already know about what all interests that you have, what all achievements that you had in life, that as is mentioned in the DAF, but they want to listen it from you. They want to have a conversation with you. And do not give the statement like answers. It will appear as so rude, and it will appear non-conversational. Always carry it. Like for example, in my case, there were questions that I elaborately discussed with them. For example, I had Bhagavad Gita mentioned in my achievements, that I got some prize in recitation of Bhagavad Gita in my schooling. So a lot of questions were asked around Bhagavad Gita. And also I have started reading Bhagavad Gita as and when mocks have started asking me questions about Gita. So in that 1 month duration, I tried to cover as much as possible from Bhagavad Gita. Like I tried reciting few of the shlokas, and I also made a notes of the learnings from the Bhagavad Gita. And also there were questions on God, spirituality, and all of this. And I realized that they were checking whether my intention of practicing Bhagavad Gita is just bookish, or do I apply it in my real life as well or not. And also they wanted to know whether I have this balanced mindset, balanced viewpoint about religious scriptures or not. So all of these aspects were keenly tested, and there were a lot of questions about Gita, and each member of the board had asked me questions, like 1 or 2 questions on Gita to be specific. So if I have to give some do's and don'ts for the aspirants, firstly do's. First, chalk out a intention plan for yourself. Why you want to give this exam so desperately? Because you see, there is a lot of glitter around this exam, like the social media glorification of toppers and all of that. But remember that the services, they go far beyond this. The shimmer and glitter, they will fade away someday. But you always remember that the services will require a lot of hard work, perseverance, and you will get a lot of challenges in the services also. So it will not just in the preparation phase, but it will be much harder while you are in the services. Hence, be clear about the intention and motive to write this exam. And also be sure that you are that candidate who is most hardworking in the room, who has the utter discipline to carry out the task on a daily basis, if you are consistent or not. So these are some of the do's and don'ts. When it comes to don'ts, always this fear of missing out, this particular feeling will make us very nervous and anxious, so much so that we keep running and chasing behind courses in the market. But that is not required. If that is the case, why are there 100% toppers from each of the institute? So there is no success formula from one particular course or one particular institute. Do not chase any courses. Always and always check the deliverables, and check the quality of content, and check the credibility and affordability factors also. And even if I am a topper, even if I have enrolled in particular institute or course, it doesn't mean that I am endorsing that particular course or institute or any of thing that, for that matter of fact. Always remember that no topper knows that this particular course is my secret to the success. Even I do not know any of that. And always do not make some topper as a reference for entering into particular institute, because the quality of content, the kind of faculty that you have, the intention, the motive of that particular institute might be changing, might be not. But then you have to take your own call. Depending upon the pros and cons, you have to go ahead, and do not make any single person a reference for your courses or your preparation. And one other thing is that do not enter this preparation as a sole way, because we in our early 20s dedicate a lot of time to this exam, despite we having some responsibilities back at home, or we having some obligations about our career also. Always have an exit plan, because backup is very important in this journey. Even I don't know that I would be able to clear this year's attempt. So it is very unsure. Hence, after 2 or 3 attempts, just look back and know whether there is any backup plan that you can rely on actually. Do not dedicate 7 to 8 years single-handedly on this exam. There are many things out there which you can actually enjoy and contribute to the society at large. Actually, for that matter of fact, I have not paid any single rupee for any of the mocks. there is only this Sankalp mock for which they have asked a fee of 500 rupees, and it's a charitable organization as well. Whatever we pay to that institute of 500 rupees for the mock, they'll use it for charitable activities. And apart from that, I did not pay any of the rupees or any of the amount to any coaching institute for mock interviews. Every mock that I attended was free of cost, and even I mentioned the JICE IAS Academy, whom I interacted online, that was also completely free of cost. So do not pay a lot of money for interview guidance and all of that. And all due respect, if you need certain guidance or something, you can always take your own call. But as far as I am concerned, I did not pay anything for interview guidance. And I also realized that just for appearing for one mock or one class, institutes are claiming toppers, and it is happening with many of my peers also. And I just want to convey this message that mock interviews are always free in manner, and there might be some kind of amount fixed for mocks, but that doesn't mean that if ever we attend just a single free mock, that doesn't mean that we have enrolled in their courses. And I personally did not enroll in any of the interview guidance programs of any institutes. And I intend to make a Telegram channel soon, in which I share the detailed strategy, detailed notes, and what all courses I have taken and what all benefit I have got from those courses. I personally have been following DKT for long. I have referred to many topper videos. For example, I referred a topper from anthropology, and I have made some notes out of that video as well regarding the strategy book list. And I have also personally followed Saloni Verma ma'am's interview, like the DKT video, in which I specifically followed her approach towards the interview. It was very inspiring, and I followed the similar kind of approach in my preparation as well. And going forward, I wish the best of luck to all the students, and keep in mind the do's and don'ts, and specifically own your own process. Do not hand it over to somebody else. Rely on your own self, and be very thorough with what this exam requires from you, and be very clear about your exit plan also. And I wish you all the best.